Welcome to the Lawson and Gift podcast. Make sure to hit that like button, share the videos, and subscribe. And Lawson, I hate to have to say this, but Phillip Rivers needs to retire. I wanted to hold off for another week before we made this video, but it's just too apparent now.
I said it last year, even before the playoff exit to the Patriots. I said this man is really past his prime, and at a certain point, he is holding the Chargers back. Now let's get to the physical skills. Giff, he really can't pump it deep anymore. Even 3 years ago, remember when if they beat the Chiefs, they would have went to the playoffs or won that division. Yeah. And every time he threw it deep, it would just flutter and only go like 35 yards and come up 10 yards short. And the Chiefs would just grab it and pick it and win the game that way. That's the problem with Phillip Rivers, man. There's no arm talent left, and his decision making at this point it is not even all that good. And we know he's accurate when he's throwing like 5 to 15 yards. I'm not going to argue about that. But he isn't that old gunslinger that we once knew. He isn't the man who can get that ball down the field. And he's also not managing games at this point. We know the Chargers defense isn't playing up to its caliber. We know the run game hasn't gotten going, even though teams are packing the box against the Chargers now. No one's really talking about that. Eckler's had a good season, but man, when you pack the box with 8-9 men, it's time to throw the ball. It's time to get Keenan Allen some catches. It's time to eat. It's time to get Hunter Henry having 100-yard games. We know most of those yards last week came in garbage time against the Broncos. Came in garbage time against the Steelers. Phillip Rivers needs to retire. Gift. The Chargers will not make the playoffs or do anything significant in this league until he goes and until they get a new option. I fear he'll be back next year. And people keep saying, Lawson, the Chargers always start slow. Come on, man. Losing 2 straight games to the Broncos and Steelers at home, that's no recipe for winning. This man is done. The physical talent, also the mental mistakes are starting to add up.
It's a shame that this organization didn't build a team around him sooner. It's unfortunate that he's going to have to retire without a Super Bowl ring, but that's just the truth behind this here. But that Steelers loss, we knew beforehand, that Denver loss was really bad, like really bad. They did everything offensively to lose that game, and Rivers was the culprit in that. But the fact that they lost to a third-string quarterback at home because the offense is this bad, and it's all back to Rivers. It's him holding on to the ball too long. It's him crumbling in the pocket, and then when he's not doing that, he's throwing errant throws and turning the football over. It's time. It's unfortunate, as I said, we were lobbying for them to build a team around him for years. And we did say last year that was their last real shot.
It was.
The defense was really good.
And what type of fight did he put up in the playoffs against New England? There was no fight in that game. They weren't even close. I know the scoreboard wasn't 60-0, but it felt like 60-0. It was like it was like a midget trying to throw headshots to your face. It's just not gonna work, man. And that's where we're at with Phillip Rivers. And this franchise will not transform. They will not rejuvenate until they finally grow a set of cojones and move him on out of pasture. It's that simple.
Yep, and it's almost like they don't want to because he's a Hall of Fame type caliber guy. So it's kind of like that Eli Manning syndrome.
Everyone gets in the fucking Hall of Fame. He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a very good player. I enjoyed watching him play my whole time. He was one of my favorite players for a little while. But he just didn't do enough to go in the Hall of Fame. Not enough in the big moments.
And that's why we're probably going to see him next year, though. And he'll want to pad his stats. He'll want to do all those things. And I don't agree with that. But sadly, that's the truth with some of these players. They try to hang on too long, but I'm getting tired of seeing like how he throws the ball. Like, how he throws it kind of like sidearm and there's no arm strength to it.
Or even when he throws it overhand, he can't even throw 40 yards anymore. Guys, he cannot throw 40 yards anymore, and every time he throws a deep pass, it hangs up like hang time like a punt. You see Mike Williams like trying to find it. He's like, I think it's just Mike Williams has like 10 yards of space, but it's up there so long he ends up getting clobbered once the ball finally arrives. And this isn't just a this year thing, though. This was starting to deteriorate the last 3 years. I said last year before last season that, it's probably time to move on. I know it's hard to find a quarterback in this league, but man, everyone wants to pick on Eli and stuff, but if Phillip Rivers was in New York or a big market, people would be saying the same thing about him, but no one watches Chargers games, so no one knows what's going on. For those of us who have to watch this stuff, You know he's deteriorating, and he's in good positions, man. This offensive line's better than it ever has been. They do have a good running game. Eckler's played good even without Melvin Gordon. There's options on the outside. Phillip Rivers just came up short. And if this franchise wants to do anything other than be like, get 20K people who, when 15K are Steelers fans in a small arena, if they really want to be a team that LA can get behind, they're going to have to make a move and get rid of Phillip Rivers.
Absolutely, because these games that they're losing, it's not like it's by big margins, or it's not like they're not in these games, but when it does come time to make a play, he either doesn't make it or turns it over.
Yeah.
Can't have that. And I remember, I think it was in the comment section, somebody said that he was done with Rivers when he saw that backwards lateral. I mean, it's bad. It's bad football. Terrible
It is
football.
bad football, and the thing about Phillip Rivers that gets me is he's always blaming other people.
He does, yeah. On Sundays, he's yelling at everybody else like it's their fault he can't throw the football anymore.
I know. Like, why are you yelling at Mike Williams? He, won that battle on the outside. He created, 5-10 yards of separation, yet you hung that thing up like a punt. We should bring Pat McAfee out as quarterback and just let him punt the deep balls. I mean, if we're going to do that, bring Brian Mormon out there and let him punt. Deep balls. I mean, it'd be more effective than what Phillip Rivers is offering.
And, Lawson, you're right, because if you look at that Broncos game, if you look at that Steelers game, if they would have started a backup quarterback instead of Rivers, it's possible they win those games.
Yeah, good, because the Steelers beat with a third-string quarterback, bro.
Yeah.
And a lot of those points that Chargers defense gave up was due to the Chargers offense putting them in shit positions. And we know the Chargers defense is missing Derwin James, but they do seem like a little bit of a defeated unit as well, man. They know what's going on. No one talks about Phillip Rivers because no one really cares about the Chargers, but we have subscribers who actually care about the Chargers, so we have to be somewhat critical.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say is that, as I said, even though the defense isn't obviously what it was with Derwin James in the mix and whatnot, it's still, the team isn't playing that bad. It's that Rivers is doing this.
Yeah.
Everyone says it's easy to blame the quarterback. Well, in this situation, it's the problem.
Yeah, and Kev, this should have been a streak. Broncos at home, Steelers at home with a third stringer. Then you go on the road to the Titans. Those should have been 3-0, and that gives you vibrancy. That gives you a chance to do things. And
so, what do you think's going to happen? You don't think they'd go as far as to scapegoat Anthony Lynn, do you?
We've seen crazier things, but my point is, there's not enough pressure in the Chargers to even get. There's more people who care about Syracuse. College football, even with our area, even though they don't really like college football that much, there's more pressure on a Syracuse college football coach or head coach of North Carolina than on Anthony Lynn. It's like no one cares.
We're even, in my opinion, we're a little bit late to doing this video, but we're still going to be a lot more earlier than everybody else talking about this, because you're right. It's like people just don't care that the Chargers are sucking.
I've been letting people know the whole year. I've been letting them know at whole off season. So I have no fruition. I have no regrets over. I picked them to win 7 games, and it was because of Phillip Rivers. It wasn't because Melvin Gordon was hanging out. I'm not that naive. That will probably be, honestly, Melvin Gordon holding out will probably be the excuse that's used to get Phillip Rivers another year. Don't you think?
They'll probably couple that in with Derwin James getting hurt, and then the fans, what little fans they have, will be optimistic and say, oh, we got one more year, we got a chance.
Phillip, give him some more weapons, invest more in them. And the Chargers really did have a Super Bowl window. Even last year, if you think about it, when you got Bosa, Ingram, Derwin James, that was a Super Bowl quality defense at times, and they forced big plays that can help the offense. But you saw how short they came up against the Chiefs. Against the Patriots. Yeah. And we saw how they actually played good against the Chiefs. But look at those Chiefs games. The main culprit was Phillip Rivers not making enough plays. And I don't want to see Phillip Rivers thrown out the pasture, but if it happened to Eli, why not?
Yeah, I got nothing more to add, Lawson. I think it's time for him to hang up the cleats. It's getting, to me, it's embarrassing at this point.
It is.
The Steelers game was the last straw for me. That's why I said we have to do this video.
His flabby arms, the noodle throws, him not being able to throw over 35 yards. When he does try to throw deep, it hangs up like a punter, man. It's come on.
What's going to happen later in the season if he does get nicked up a little bit? He's already bad when he's healthy. So when as the season goes on and his old body starts to break down a little bit, it's going to be even worse.
I wonder what I would love to be a fly on the wall in Anthony Lynn's office when he's like planning these games and what he thinks.
Yeah, he's probably got to feel really frustrated because there's nothing he can do about the situation. It's not like he can bench Rivers. And
Hell no.
He can come up with a perfect game plan. It wouldn't make a difference with Rivers as quarterback.
At a certain point, yeah, and people need to remember all those points against the Steelers were garbage points. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
We need to say that.
And with that, subscribe at the Lawson and Gift podcast. Make sure to hit that like button, share the videos.